Welcome to GardenBound. Today, we're exposing a major scam that soil companies are running and what they don't want you to know. Have you ever wondered why there are so many different types of soil and why they are so expensive? It turns out the differences between many of these soil products are minimal, yet companies charge exorbitant prices by marketing them as specialized products. In this video, we'll reveal how soil companies trick you into buying different products that are essentially the same, and how you can save a ton of money by making your own. If you find this information valuable, don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or questions. Let's dive into the details and start saving you some money. Most potting mixes are composed of a blend of Sphagnum peat moss, Perlite, and Vermiculite. These ingredients create a soilless medium designed to support plant growth by providing aeration, moisture retention, and a lightweight structure that facilitates root development. Sphagnum peat moss is the primary component, known for its ability to retain moisture while still allowing for adequate drainage. Perlite, a volcanic glass, is added to improve aeration and drainage, preventing soil compaction. Vermiculite, another mineral, helps with moisture retention and nutrient exchange. These mixes often come with added fertilizers and are marketed as specialized products tailored to specific types of plants. For instance, potting mixes are frequently enhanced with slow-release fertilizers to provide essential nutrients over time, simplifying the feeding process for gardeners. However, these added fertilizers can sometimes contain synthetic chemicals that may pose health risks if not handled properly, highlighting the importance of using protective gear and following safety guidelines when working with these products. Brands often market a variety of potting mixes under different names and price points, despite minimal differences in their composition. For example, Orchid mix typically consists of bark chips and perlite to ensure good drainage and aeration, crucial for orchid health. African violet mix is generally a standard soilless mix with added lime to adjust pH levels, catering to the specific needs of African violets. Seed starting mix is finely sifted to create a light, fluffy texture that supports seed germination and root growth, often with similar ingredients to basic potting mix. Cactus mix includes added sand to enhance drainage, mimicking the arid conditions preferred by cacti and succulents. Raised bed soil is marketed for use in garden beds, but often comprises the same basic ingredients as general potting mix, with a slight variation in texture or added compost. Real-life examples highlight the marketing tactics used by soil companies. For instance, a bag of Miracle-Gro Orchid mix costs about $9, while a standard potting mix from Walmart is about $5. Despite the price difference, the primary components remain largely the same, with minor variations tailored to specific plant needs. By understanding the basic composition of these products, gardeners can save money by purchasing a general potting mix and customizing it with inexpensive amendments like sand, lime, or bark chips to meet the needs of their specific plants. This approach not only reduces costs, but also allows for greater control over the growing medium's properties. The main tactic used by soil companies is to repackage the same basic mix under different labels, significantly marking up the price. This practice exploits the consumer's lack of knowledge, leading to unnecessary expenses. Companies take a general potting mix, typically a blend of Sphagnum peat moss, perlite, and vermiculite, and market it under various specialized names like Orchid mix, African violet mix, and seed starting mix. Despite these labels, the fundamental components remain the same, with only minor adjustments such as texture or additional ingredients like bark chips or lime. Buying these separately can cost you a lot more without providing additional benefits. For example, a bag of standard potting mix might cost around $5, while a bag of Orchid mix could be priced at $9. The higher price tag is often justified by the addition of components like bark chips, which are inexpensive and can be easily added to regular potting mix at home. This price inflation does not translate into a proportional increase in product effectiveness or value, making it a costly and unnecessary expenditure for consumers. Real-life examples highlight how consumers can avoid this scam. By sifting potting mix through a 1/4-inch mesh, you can create your own specialized mixes at a fraction of the cost. For instance, to make an orchid mix, simply sift out the finer particles from a standard potting mix to isolate the larger chunks of bark and perlite. Similarly, for an African violet mix, use the sifted potting mix and add a small amount of lime to adjust the pH level. For seed starting mix, use the finely sifted portion of the potting mix, which is already ideal for seed germination due to its light and airy texture. These DIY methods not only save money, but also empower gardeners to customize their soil blends based on specific plant needs, ensuring optimal growth conditions. The practice of repackaging the same basic mix under different labels and marking up the price is a clear indication of how soil companies capitalize on consumer ignorance, emphasizing the importance of informed gardening practices. Now let's get to the part that benefits you, dear viewer, creating your own soil mix to save money. Start by purchasing a basic bag of potting mix, which typically contains a blend of Sphagnum peat moss, Perlite, and Vermiculite. If you want to know how to make your own basic potting mix, stay tuned. Now, using a 1/4-inch mesh sieve, sift the mix to separate the fine particles from the larger chunks. This process helps you create different types of soil mixes tailored to various plant needs without buying multiple expensive specialty mixes. The larger chunks left after sifting are ideal for creating an orchid mix. Orchids, particularly the Phalaenopsis variety, thrive in a medium that holds less water and provides good aeration, mimicking their natural epiphytic habitat where they cling to trees. This mix usually includes bark chips and perlite. By using the larger sifted particles from the potting mix, you can replicate this environment, ensuring your orchids receive the right amount of moisture and air circulation necessary for healthy root development. The finer particles remaining after sifting the potting mix are perfect for creating an African violet mix. African violets prefer a light, soilless medium that is pH neutral, as they are prone to root rot in dense, organic-rich soils. This mix should have good aeration and drainage properties to keep the delicate roots healthy. Often these mixes are amended with lime to adjust the pH, but since most commercial potting mixes already contain dolomitic lime to neutralize peat moss acidity, your sifted mix will likely be well suited for African violets. The fine sifted particles are also excellent for a seed starting mix. Seedlings require a light and airy medium to promote healthy root development and prevent damping off disease. This mix allows seeds to germinate and grow roots easily without being hindered by large chunks or compacted soil. The fine texture ensures consistent moisture retention and good drainage, providing an optimal environment for young plants to thrive. To create a cactus mix, add sand to the sifted potting mix. Cacti and succulents need a well-draining soil to prevent root rot, as they are adapted to arid environments where soil dries out quickly. Adding sand increases drainage and aeration, mimicking the natural sandy, rocky soils these plants are accustomed to. A typical ratio is about 1 part sand to 3 parts sifted potting mix, but you can adjust based on your specific needs and the plant species. If you've stuck around to figure out how to create a basic mix, here's a step-by-step guide to making your own potting mix. To start, gather the necessary materials. You'll need Sphagnum peat moss, which provides structure and moisture retention. Perlite or vermiculite is essential for improving aeration and drainage. Compost or well-rotted manure adds nutrients and improves soil fertility. Optional additives include lime, which balances the acidity of peat moss, coir, coconut fiber, an alternative to peat moss for water retention, and sand, which is beneficial for additional drainage, especially for succulent mixes. The basic recipe involves mixing 1 part Sphagnum peat moss or coir, 1 part perlite or vermiculite, and 1 part compost or well-rotted manure. Start by preparing the peat moss. If using peat moss, soak it in water for a few hours or overnight to rehydrate it, making it easier to mix. Coir can also be soaked similarly if used. Next, combine the peat moss or coir with the perlite or vermiculite in a large container or on a clean surface. Mix thoroughly to ensure even distribution. Then add compost or well-rotted manure and mix again. This component will provide essential nutrients for plant growth. If using peat moss, which is naturally acidic, add a small amount of lime to neutralize the pH. This step is crucial if you are planting species that prefer neutral to slightly acidic soil. For plants requiring excellent drainage, such as cacti and succulents, add sand to the mix. Customize further by adding other organic materials, such as finely chopped bark or leaf mold, to enhance texture and nutrient content. To ensure success, consider sterilizing the components, accept compost, by baking them in an oven at 180 degrees Fahrenheit for about 30 minutes to prevent pests and diseases. Adjust the proportions based on specific plant needs. For example, add more perlite for improved drainage or additional compost for nutrient-loving plants. Store the homemade potting mix in a sealed container to keep it fresh and prevent contamination. We hope you found this video on everyday potting soil informative. We'd love to know your thoughts and suggestions down in the comments. And as always, until next time, happy gardening.